and all that nonsense. So it none of it should really affect. If we wind up never having an issue, we plan on removing, if there are any limitations to buy to play. Uh, but it's, we have to play it a little safe. Otherwise, you wind up with things like Final Fantasy 14 had, where it was just spam after spam after spam. I mean, I couldn't even use zone chat or any type of global chat in Final Fantasy 14 because it got so bad and they just weren't responding. I think at this point in time they've cleared it up, but they weren't ready for it. They weren't responding to it. Nobody was actively going about it, and they had other things they had to deal with. So there was no contingency in place for them. We've got a full contingency in place, and we will be adapting it backwards as we need to. We absolutely don't believe we have to get any firmer than we are. So the difference between Tier 1, Tier 11, and Tier 16 auction houses. So we have 5 capital cities. I've said this before on the website. If you guys are monitoring the boards, you've seen me say this quite a bit. Each of these capital cities has every commodity you can find in it. I mean, these things are massive, right? So they've got all the commodities, which include an auction house. The player, we'll take this from the aspect of a single player. Lanham starts out playing the game. I start out in one of the let's call it dry zone, I think is the name of one of them. So I start out in dry zone, and that's in that city. I start out with basic faction form, right? Functional faction, not all whites. I've got one green, and then the other 2 are whites, right? So when we get the faction nailed down, I'll release it. We'll talk about it then, so you guys understand. So I start out with enough faction in the entire city to perform basic tasks within that city. That includes mail, renting any rooms. I mean, there's a lot of things that you'll be able to do with this that other players who aren't from that city will be able to do once they walk into the city. That could change. They could build a faction with almost anything. I want to say they can build a faction with anything. I don't think we're putting limitations on stuff like that. So Tier 1 cities, I start out in 1, but the other 2 are still all whites to me, which means I can't use their auction houses. I can, however, go to those cities and do a few quests to open up basic functionality at each of the auction houses. At that point in time, I can have basic functionality, within, say, 4 hours of all 3 Tier 1 auction houses. It doesn't take much effort, but it does take time. It takes commitment from me. To open up auction house on a complete level in a Tier 1 city, I think, rough numbers, I would say 4 hours of questing, maybe 3 hours of questing. I don't really know. We haven't set that up, so I don't know the numbers. That's a rough estimate on what I believe should probably take. So as you can see, it won't take too much time. Now, I can't see any of the other 3 cities from that Tier 1 auction house. These cities are political cities. They're not military cities. There's not massive amounts of communication going on. They've got so much going on within their walls. Almost said something stupid there. You'll find out why, and so there's a bit of communication is being not cut off, but has been chopped off until they can resolve some things, which won't happen until we start branching things. So players will have to go to all 3 cities to figure out what they're doing. Now, this is only really an issue for free-to-plays. Free-to-plays can only really see one market at a time. If you're buy-to-play, it's fine. You don't like only seeing one city? Max out your faction with all 3 while you're playing the game. Maybe you're waiting for a buddy or some shit. And then go in Tier 11 is the 2nd or 4th auction house, but the 2nd level of auction house. And in this auction house, same as the other 2 cities you didn't start in, you start out with all whites. So no functionality, but you can easily work up faction. This one will take a little bit more time to build your faction with, right? Tier 11, not Tier 1, means a little bit more dedication. This city is a little different. It's not a political type city. It's not run by civilian government. This one is run by a mix of civilian and military government. There's a very strong structure in place to help refugees and all these other things and help people get more stable and provide kind of relief support. it's the kind of city where there's a little less civilian control, but not that much military control. They work hand in hand together. Neither reports inherently to each other. There would be more of like a council type meeting. So in this city, there's a little bit more communication, right? They've got their feelers going out everywhere, which means they know what's going on. But you have to build up your faction. You have to increase your capability to earn the trust for these people to share this information. This information isn't cheap, right? Information is never free. It's never cheap. You have to always, at all points, earn information. Nobody's just handing it out. And anybody that is, which is rare, is either doing it for fame or they're doing it because they absolutely want to do it. Well, these people ain't those kind of people. These people are only in it for the money. Again, they have quotas to meet. You need to pay them to do that job. It's a minor gold sink. It's not something we're going to put a heavy tax on, but we do need to pay NPCs. Otherwise, it becomes kind of a bland system. If we're going to treat our NPCs like people, we have to treat them like people. And this goes for us too. I'll be paying the same damn taxes. Although I suck at that kind of shit, so I don't even use auction house. I always give my shit to my buddy, and he sells everything for me. But it still comes out the back end. So either way, I'm paying the taxes. So in this tier 11 city, if you go all blues, max out your faction, at this point in time, you'll be able to see all 3 tier 1 cities, all their goods, purchase any goods you want, as well as the tier 11. So now you're able to see at tier 11 all 4 cities. You have now, at this point in time, have a strategic advantage over anybody who's not quite there yet. And it's a power play. It's an absolute power play. If anybody thinks that there's no benefit to this, you don't know how to work the system. I don't work the system, but I absolutely understand how economics work. And you're going to have to understand economics in our game are going to work a little differently than in real life because, well, there's a much different history there. So people are going to evolve differently on this planet than they are here on Earth. So on that planet, not this planet. This planet made it. Never mind. All right, so tier 11. At the same time, when you're posting an item to the tier 11 auction house, it's going to always show up in the tier 11 auction house. But you could take that one posting and you can make it force feed out to either one of the 3 tier 1 auction houses. You can't do all 3 at once, but you can choose it to go to if a lot of people go over to Dry Zone auction house, right? People are going to flock to one of those auction houses until they can get to the tier 11 auction house. And at that point, they're going to flock to that one until they can get to the tier 16 where they'll flock to that one. But anyway, so what you're going to want to do is make sure that your item's posting, not just at tier 11, but that information is going out by the supply chain over to the other auction houses as well. So you now have a strategic advantage on being able to post to 2 different locations, tier 11 and whichever outlying hub you choose. I say hub, I just mean capital city. So there's a benefit to earning that faction. You get to actually have value in what you're doing. Your game time's not being wasted. You're not sitting there with nothing to do. You're out there in a real world type of environment doing real things that matter. And this is what's important to us as gamers. When I'm talking about us, I mean the founders right now, was finding ways to make shit matter on all levels. So now, we got the tier 11 down. Don't think I missed anything. No. So now we're talking about tier 16, right? Rating. So tier 16, auction house. At this point in time, this auction house is pure military auction house. You'll find out all the whys and whats in the story. But so in this auction house, this is the first things you set up. Well, the first one thing you set up when you deploy anywhere, when you set your camp somewhere, is communication. That's nothing fucking matters until you've got communication. And then you set up supply line. So it makes sense that tier 16 would have a little bit more capability here. A lot more capability. So you start out the same, all whites, right? No functionality. And then you get basic functionality. And basic functionality looks a lot like tier 11's maximum functionality. Minus being able to post it to other places. You can still see all the other auction houses. But until you get to green, 2 greens, you won't be able to post to another individual. Once you go all blue, any item you post on that tier 16 auction house is automatically posted on the other auction houses. So this now becomes your global auction house. You got to earn it. You got to get to it and earn it, but it becomes a global auction house. This is kind of a way for us to congratulate players on making it this far in the first place, but also dedicating the time to earn. Oh, that's what I missed. Earn the faction and all. So tier 11, tier 16. So tier 11, you can only see the other 3 auction houses if you've got all blues in all 3 of those. So it's important to go build that faction up, right? You're not just, screw it, I'll get tier 11 and move on. Tier 16 is the same. You'll be able to see all the auction houses that you have all blues on. Again, this isn't something that's going to take you months and months to do as far as the auction houses go. Getting to tier 16 might take you months and months and months to do. For some people, it's going to take a year to do. For some people, it's going to take 2 or 3 months to do, tops. So we're ready for those crazy motherfuckers who are moving that damn fast, believe me. But when it comes to that tier 16 auction house, this is the most powerful auction house that's out there right now. This is the one that unifies all the auction houses so long as you've done the work to do so. Can you lose faction in an auction house? That's a great question. I don't think so. I don't really know how you could, why you would. So I'm going to say no for right now. If that changes, I'll let you know. I know that the question is going to go on people's minds because if you can earn faction, there's a lot of ways that you should be able to lose faction. To lose faction with an auction house, you would really have to go to an opposing market, right? So they get caught, really, because NPCs aren't just going to magically know that you did something. It's not like oh my god, there was a shift in the force or some shit like that. So all right, so the question came up. Neo, I'm gonna reference your post quite a bit, but one of the things he said was oh shit, stop it. All right, good. Here, actually. Did I miss updates? No, I couldn't have. Sorry. Wrong page. Oh no, it was the bottom of the page. I didn't realize it was the bottom of the page. I've already responded to him, but we're talking about it right now here, so. Alright, so here's the thing right here. First and foremost, that statement inherently is wrong. Should a developer? Probably not. But the reality is they created the game and everything within it. So that's not inherently accurate. If you're looking, and this is what I'm talking about, if you're looking to get a reasonable response out of people, you may want to approach things in a slightly more open conversational tone. You know what I'm saying? So if I was to go into a game and they said you can't post an item lower than whatever an NPC would trade for it, would purchase it for, and you can't post it 10% higher, I would say, wait a minute. So I can't sell this item that typically sells for 200 gold, but you've now discontinued creating it, or people realize how important it is, and now I want to increase the price, but I can't do that now because you put a cap on how much that price can be increased. To that, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I agree with you. That's not what we're doing. We are putting a limitation on players' trust with NPCs. You can go remove that yourself. Nobody's keeping you at limited pricing. Nobody's telling you what you can and cannot post because you have the capability to go and change that yourself. You have. That power is yours to do and not do. For players who are coming in to destroy and inherently fucking harm the system, that is in place. And it just so happened to be that it works very well with our storyline that we've created as well. Now, this right here, this is where a lot of people make a ton of money. Okay? Absolutely agree with you. I feel bad for the dumb people, okay? But at the same time, you make a lot of money doing that shit. I, to that, how many times does somebody put up something for 50,000 gold and actually put it up for 5,000 gold on accident? And you're sitting there looking at the item thinking that there's no damn way. This can't be right. You'll look up the item, you'll ask your buddies, you'll get a price check on it, and you'll realize, yeah, they fucking missed a zero and snatched the item up, right? Absolutely agree with you. Wholeheartedly agree with you, okay? So that's not, we're not, we're not going in this to put a permanent limitation on there. This is just a complete system now where players have a lot more interaction than just walking up to a fucking interface. And I mean, any game can do that shit. That shit's boring as fuck. Any game can do a million damn things, and we're not doing a million damn things. We're doing what works inside of a game space. So, as far as balancing our economy, we're not trying to balance our economy, okay? First and foremost, we've seen it happen too many damn times. All of us have seen that shit happen way too many damn times, okay? It can't be done. It is something that naturally happens. We have an economist coming in here who has given us a blanket set of rules to start with, but is going to come in here and help us make sure that it's an economy that can exist. What we don't want to do is wind up with the Elder Scrolls, where online, where you release these motifs, and then a week later, after people have sold these motifs for 60,000 gold or whatever the case may be, you increase the drop rate and absolutely destroy the actual value of the motifs. Now that you can't make an economy happen, but you can absolutely destroy a fucking economy. Okay, you can absolutely demolish an economy. Shit, we're staying the fuck away from. People can, so you could take these items that we've created in the game and the need that these items have in the game, and you can sell them and you can utilize them over and over and over again. We wanted to give a lot of items value beyond just their drop. I mean, hell, there are certain merchants you're going to sell to that are going to buy an item for more than another merchant would. If you're selling armor to somebody that sells pottery supplies, they're not going to see much value in it, and they're not going to give a shit. They're going to pay you, a minimum standard for it. You sell that to an actual, armor smith that knows what they're doing with it. They've got plans for it. They're willing to pay a little bit more coin because now you can actually utilize, or they can actually utilize that piece of armor beyond just, oh great, now I have to resell this to an armor smith or some shit. So we've got that going on in the game. Players are going to see that. We've got a few other elements going on in the game as well. What you're not going to find is rocks, right? You're not just going to loot a rock off of a snake or snake guts that have no value. If we put snake guts in the game, it's going to have value. It's going to have crafting value at some point in time. It's not just going to be a random fucking item that disappears onto a vendor and never seen again. To that point, if you sell an item to a vendor, that item is going to be visible for all other players. So be careful, all right? Because at that point in time, that is one of those things where if another player's come and picked it up, a GM's not going to be able to replace that item. So be careful with that. To that effect, you can tag your bags as not sellable, which means the content's not sellable, content's not tradable, and content's craftable. Or I can't remember what we said for that one. So that you don't accidentally sell those kind of items, and just stay away from that bag. Don't go into that bag when you're looking to sell stuff. If you do that, in that regard, it's on you. If another player's already picked it up, I mean, you're talking about us having to go recompensate that player for the item. Right. So Lanham gets this armor drop, right? This blue armor drop. I'm not really using it. Maybe I want to give it to a buddy. So I don't, and I'm stupid. I'm moving fast, right? I get in a hurry sometimes. I've done this shit before, all right? So I'm moving quickly. I'm not really paying that much attention. I take that blue armor and I just sell everything in one bag, right? Now I'm not saying you'll be able to right click sell all in a bag or anything. Might have that in there. I don't really know. But I just go through and I, double click everything to sell it, and I'm not paying attention. But I realize after, as I'm making sure that I've got that armor piece, because I always remember after. Everybody always remembers after they fuck something up that they weren't supposed to fuck it up. So I remember after that I wanted to give that blue armor to my buddy, and I go and try to buy the armor back from him, but it's already gone. And I see some dude standing next to me going, holy shit, some guy put, this armor on this freaking pottery merchant or some shit. He just bought that shit from a pottery merchant. We do have a way for these merchants to clean their inventory out. We've got a few specialty merchants out there that we're working on implementing that will naturally clean these merchants' inventory out. But it's going to take, a little bit of time, maybe a day, maybe 2 days. I don't want to go too much into it because I want to make sure that we understand how these specialty merchants work, because there is player interaction involved in them. So, my goodness. So as long as that answers your question, I will. Yep. All right. So remind me of that, Steve, if I haven't brought that up yet. So be careful of what you do sell to the merchants, because if there's another player sitting there, which, most cases it is likely there's another merchant sitting there or another player sitting there. If they see it pop up on their list, they're probably going to snatch it up. Armor in our game is probably going to be one of the more valuable items. We have adjusted the way that the armor system works, but we need to, and I need to release that soon here, but we're making sure that we all agree and absolutely understand how that system works. So we want to make sure it's not a major change. It's actually a really minor change, but I think I agree with Wicked when he said that it was going to add more value to it as opposed to what we currently had, which could have been easily over, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't think of the word. Over, gosh, shit, whatever. Anyway, all right, so we have the rules for providing the potential for a market, and we absolutely believe that we followed those rules. So in as much as we can create a market, we've done what we can. Now it's up to the players to get into the game space and actually create the market. And we can't do anything more with that. Honestly, at this point, it's out of our hands. As far as the market creation goes, we've provided the substance, the materials, the goods, the method. It's up to the players now whether or not they want that market to exist. And with players, the market's going to exist. So, will the potter charge less than average value in armor? That is a great question. I don't think we've actually covered that. I would have to say no, or I would have to say yes, simply because the potter. All right, so if we're looking at this from a real world perspective, right? I always say this. We have a lot of real world psychological elements here because, well, as people are slowly learning, that shit fucking matters. All right. So if, let's say it's me and you, Kane Lore, all right, and you work downtown from where I live, and I'm trying to get rid of a gun, right? I got like 15 of them some bitches. I'm kidding, I don't have 15 of them. So I'm trying to get rid of, actually, you know what? Let's say I'm trying to get rid of this, right? Because I bought this for a gun that I had, but it doesn't work. It's a Ronnie system. I've got no fucking use for this damn thing. This thing, I acquired it, but it's useless to me. So I go and sell it to you, right? So you've got no use for this, but you know that it's got a little bit of value. So let's say you buy it. This is a $400 piece of equipment. You buy it for, $200, half the value. And I know nobody else is going to buy it around here. So I say, fuck it. You're willing to buy it? Fine. All right, cool. I'll sell it to you for $200. And you have a friend who's, a gunsmith over in, Portsmouth or whatever, 40 miles away. I'm not traveling 40 fucking miles to sell that stupid thing, especially when you'll buy it right there. I've already considered that $400 an absolute loss. Okay. For me, that's a loss. I'll put it to use someday. I know how to modify it to put it to use, but for the scenario we're talking about, that $400 is a loss for me. If I can recoup any of that, I'm happy. Okay. I'll deal with the expense and I'll note it for later. So I take the $200. You've got no use for that. Your typical customers aren't buying that shit. If somebody comes in and looks at it and says, "Hey, where'd you get that from?" and they say, "I'll buy it for you from you for $250, which is roughly the same price your guy 40 miles away was going to buy it from you for. Cost of gas, the time it takes to get there, all the expenses considered, it comes out to about the same, or maybe the guy's even giving you a little bit more. You're going to sell that shit just to get it the hell out of your hair. That's how these NPCs are going to function. If you sell something to a merchant that's not really going to utilize it, they're going to try to just simply, get rid of it. They're not just going to remove all the price from it, but they are going to take a considerable amount. Let's say the armor sells from an armor merchant for 400 gold. If he buys it from me, he'll buy it from me for 300 gold, right? That's roughly how the exchange would work. It's a 30% increase for him. He did nothing but move the item. I got it. I brought it into him. He just sells it to another person, right? There's absolutely no fucking effort in it for him. So he's considering $100 profit absolutely golden. And how the fuck could it not be? So if I sell it to him, it's 300, and if a player picks it up, it's 400. On the auction house, I probably could have sold it for anywhere from 350 to 500, right? So it really depends on which auction house and how aware players are of price values. Absolutely honest, most players will absolutely overlook this shit. That and those pieces of armor aren't always available on a merchant. These merchants will have inventory that they'll have, and they won't go above a certain amount, and they'll always try to keep it at a minimum amount. So there's going to be a fluctuating inventory. So somebody goes and buys all the freaking armor pieces and throws them on the auction house. If somebody's looking for that armor right now, they're going to buy it from the auction house. Anyways, so that would cost a lot of money. So to buy all the armor and put it on the auction house, I mean. All right. So if I take that same item, we know from the merchant it belongs on, it sells for 400 gold. Yeah, bacon. So we know from the armor merchant it sells for 400 gold. But let's say on the pottery merchant, we use pottery merchant, she buys it from me for 200 gold because half value. She's not even sure if she can get it to move. She has no idea if anybody's looking for that freaking armor, that item out there. She has no freaking clue. So for her, it is a risk. It's an absolute risk. And if it doesn't move, she might not trust the next piece. She might not want to buy another piece of freaking armor from you, right? If that sits in her inventory for a month and finally she just destroys it or whatever, then she's probably never going to want to buy that damn armor again. And yes, NPCs will think that way. NPCs will function that way. So be efficient in what you're doing. She's going to want to get rid of that item, not at its full value, because she knows it's not going to move for full value because she can't verify its quality. She can't make sure that it's taken care of. There's a lot of aspects that she just can't provide that an actual armor smith can provide. So she's going to sell that shit for anywhere from 250 to 300. And the time difference may vary. Some players may watch it, not tell anybody, and just sit there and wait for the price to dwindle down to a certain point before she just trashes the damn thing. And maybe it starts at 300. And then they purchase it at 250. But she hated the fact that it sat there for 2 weeks, and so she's really reluctant to buy the next piece of armor, or the next piece of armor she buys is only 400 gold. So there's a lot more interaction in this way to merchants. You're going to want to find merchants that can move the merchandise you're trying to sell. There's going to be merchants specifically out there looking for merchandise you're trying to sell as well. So that's one of the two merchants that I was talking about. Unfortunately, I can't really go into too much detail because we just came up with this idea, and we want to make sure that we understand the entirety of the idea before we express it to other people and before we start creating it in our process. So, Wicked's usually pretty good about laying down the foundation for those, though. Okay. I think I covered all of that. Did I miss it? Does anybody have any questions? I know the auction house. I know some of you are going to be really fucking pissed that we're fucking with the auction house system. Okay? I get it. I really do. It's risky. Absolutely. Fuck everything we're doing here is risky. Okay? Let's be honest about that first and foremost. Does that mean that we are going to limit all of our risks because we're terrified? No, because one thing we're not afraid of is we're not sitting here trying to make as much money as possible, which means we can make more risks. We can absolutely take more risks as long as they make sense. As long as from a gamer's perspective, they don't sound ridiculously stupid. Like you can't see any real value in them. So are we going to take risks? Absolutely. Fuck it. Our entire game is a giant damn risk. I kid you not. From the ground up, it's almost an entirely inherent risk. There are some systems out there that are your basic system, right? Character creation, nothing changes there. We're going to provide a standalone tool for you to create your character before the game launches, that you can save that file on your computer. Our security guy is going to go over that in great detail to make sure that there's no hacks and bugs and whatnot that can be slipped into that, which would be the only concern, which means that we'll probably have to have that sync up to a server somewhere to make sure that it's constantly file checking itself. But that'll be up to our security team to figure out and make sure that there's not anything going on with that. But that's the only real risk we're taking there, which is easily managed. We've still got the character window with the the bio information on it. That's standard. We're not changing that shit up. There's a lot of systems in here that we've got that are staying the same, but there's a lot of systems where we saw an absolute value in growth and said, why the hell not? So there's one in tier 11 and another one in tier 16. One for each capital city, 5 total capital cities. Tier 1 is 3 for the starting cities, which originally we were going to have at odds with each other. And we decided that we didn't. I mean, I really can't stand games where you can't play with your friend because you're faction driven differently. So that was actually a 5-minute conversation that we wiped clean. But we had already established the races and where they predominantly migrated and held their main population and whatnot. So for us, we kept the 3 cities. We had no reason to get rid of them. They add more life to the game, and they're going to be absolutely fucking gorgeous. So I got no problem with that. If you think of any more questions, by all means, hit me up. Okay, so a lot of yellow text, huh? Lanham, you fucking talk a lot. All right, so today is actually, this is the only way I know how to get here, so bear with me. Today is the day that we are supposed to be selecting the top 3 submissions. Unfortunately, due to some medical circumstances, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I'm not going to say too much. But due to medical situations that have happened this week, we absolutely overlooked this, and we probably would have pushed it off anyways if we hadn't forgot about it until this morning. But this is going to get pushed back a week. So it's not going to be today that I'm announcing these 3. It's going to be next Friday that I'm announcing these 3. So if you still haven't put in for the raid contest, then now's your chance. If you're watching this, the first time you hear about this, now's your chance to go in and put in for the raid contest. So essentially, the raid contest is you put in an idea for a raid. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be massive or anything like that. We just want to see, it could be a single fight. Hell, it could be a pre-boss fight for all I care. Oh yeah, shit. Okay. Let me get back to this because I forgot and Craven reminded me. All right. So the auction house is not the only place where you can perform trade. Okay. I totally forgot about this. Not about it, but I forgot to bring it up. Something that is important is we have decided that we like the player merchant idea. Players that did vote on it absolutely like it. For me, I like it the most because, as I was watching Sword Art Online for the first time, I thought, why can't players do that shit in the game? And for those of you that have seen SAO, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that haven't, you're missing out. You need to go watch that shit. I don't watch very many animes, but that's a fucking damn good one, okay? You don't even need to watch the whole thing. Watch halfway through the season. You'll know when the halfway mark hits because it's pretty fucking apparent. So, SAO, which is actually a major inspiration for sitting down to create this game in the first damn place, to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of people think it's all EverQuest. SAO actually inspired a lot of the ideas that I had. So there's that. Anyway, So basically, the player merchants, and we're still not sure. We're talking about it, and I think we have decided, or I think we're leaning towards having purchasable places in each of the major towns, maybe even the non. So we've got three city types, right? Might be four. I don't know if we're considering the other one four. We'll call it three. So we got three city types. Your capital cities, which there's five of. These are major cities, huge fucking cities. Um, and then we've got your basic cities, and then we've got towns. Towns are obviously much smaller. So a basic city would be half the size, if that, of a capital city, and then a town would be half the size of the city. So in those, I would say a town would be about the size of Riften in Elder Scrolls Online. Um, well, yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. There's not going to be many towns, many cities, and many capital cities. Five capital cities. Probably wind up having, anywhere from five to eight of each of the other two as well. Inside of those three city types will be buildings for rent or a stall, depending on the type of city, that you can rent space on, that we're considering, highly considering, for players to rent to set up shop. Outside of that, players should be able to players will be able to build their own shop on land that they purchase, inside of the towns. You'll have to market that, obviously, which won't be that difficult. I've seen players fucking market and turn shit into trading hubs like it's not cool. Um, Capacity limitations will be based on the size of the shop. There won't be any restrictions for sales, as far as how much or how little you're going to sell it for. These will be places where you can absolutely haggle. Uh, you should be able to, you're a shop owner. You'll be able to ban people from your shop. If they're just coming there to troll and harass you, then ban them. They won't be able to see your shop ever again. Um, in these locations is where I imagine a lot of specialty trades going to happen, for the most part. If players get really fluid at these, and if these become the absolute hub, then these will be the type of locations where a lot of trade is happening. Now, there's still going to be a vast majority of trade that happens on the auction houses, which is why there wasn't a huge emphasis to make all auction houses global. Um, why, given the capacity to see globally from one, by the way, tier 11 can't see tier 16. I forgot about that. Why there's not the capability to see all from all auction houses, why you had that from one, why you could see most of them from tier 11. It wasn't that big of a deal for us because of the capacity for players to naturally evolve the system anyways. So again, I know Neo's not going to be absolutely excited about that concept, and I feel you. I really do. Um, we are giving players the capability to see globally. They can go earn it. We're not restricting that. We're just changing the way that it functions. So, all right. So back to the contest. Blah blah blah. Medical. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Oh, so as far as this is what I was gonna do. I was gonna go over to the raids. Oh, look at that. Community contest is where it's at. Ha! You learn something every day, Lena. I really do. All right. So we've got some. We got some. Oh my God. Let me find one here. Bucky Cat. All right, so here's a good example of a raid, right? This is pretty good amount of information. We'll take less than this. Doesn't need to be a ton of information. Kane lore. Let me answer that question right after this. Steve, remind me that Kane lore asked that question. So the if you go to the raids or the raid section, you got a raid idea or a pre-boss fight scenario idea, and we really like it. I mean, you can post it in any capacity you want. Look at all these. None of these are failed delivery concepts. I think here we go. So I think this one has the least amount of information, right? This is the plainest, and it's still a functional concept. We still get a grasp of how it works. I stopped commenting on people's raids because I felt like I was giving people a little bit of an edge for the competition. I didn't want to do that. So, anyways, um, sorry, itchy freaking ear. Uh, cat allergies. Freaking cats, man. All right, so if this is the first time you're hearing about it, or you still haven't come up with something, fear not. Get another week to go in here, submit a raid idea. If we like it, if it's one of the top three, well, you saw in the outline how it works. So the top three. I don't know why this is all black. This should be gold text. Um, all three finalists will have some aspect of their raid scenarios featured in the game with credit given. And when we say some aspect, what I mean is if there's things I need to change, I'm going to have to change them. If your entire raid is set up the way that we would push our raid system, then I won't have to change anything. It would be awesome. Reality of that is slim to none because there's still only so much you understand about the raid system, but you can still provide a ton of information about a raid fight. So an NPC involved in some aspect of the raid scenario or raid quest will be named after the submitter. Finalists will choose the name they prefer. If it is not lore friendly, we will discuss it and come up with something that works for everyone. It's going to be difficult not to be lore friendly. If you try to name them like Jack Mehoff, you'll probably get bumped. As I find that mildly humorous, the raid scenario is not really a place for that. So the runner-up, second place, will additionally receive a special forum rank with a name of their choosing, within reason, of course. It cannot be a name that we are currently planning to give out to supporters based on Kickstarter contributions. No other forum user will ever be eligible to share this rank. It is completely unique to this user. I didn't write these up. I thought that was a pretty good idea. I would have never came up with that. For me, like that's one of them things where I'm just sitting here like, I don't know. I don't really know if anybody will like it. So, our winning submission, first place, in addition to the above, a different rank than the runner-up, of course, with the same limitations. You'll be able to choose yours before the runner-up does. Will be invited as a guest to our live podcast to present their raid and to fully participate in the broadcast. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about it, and essentially what's really going to happen, because this is how I function, I know this ahead of time, is we're going to create that entire raid. Or that entire raid fight, I should say. If it's an entire raid, we'll focus on a single fight and then, move on. So you'll be able to see how I create raids. Which is a lot like how I create songs, which impressed my therapist quite a bit. So I don't know if that means anything. The main NPC who gives the quest for this raid will be named after the submitter. Same rules as above, choosing the name. So there's the raid scenario. So on to Kane Lore. Can guilds buy property to build guild stores? Absolutely. Guilds will have their opportunity to purchase their own guild properties. So general community goes into just community neighborhoods. Guilds can have guild neighborhoods, and there's an entire system behind that. We're still fleshing out the exact details, so I don't want to go into it, but yes, guilds can have their own communities dedicated to their guild. You can lock anybody out that's not in your guild. You can allow special access to people on friends lists. We wanted guilds to have a lot more in this motherfucking game. A lot more in this fucking game. And we felt like this was only fair. We felt like this was something that really, it's a fucking obvious must, right? So, absolutely. To answer your question. Bacon says, hey, Lanham, if you need anything from me, write it in the chat because the stream's not loading quick enough on my end. Gotcha. Even though you're not hearing this, so. Yeah, I feel you, dude. Outside of that, does anybody have any other questions before I roll? I know I gotta wait like 30 seconds right now because stream freaking taking forever, but. Is there anything you think I missed, dude? No response from him, so either he's masturbating or... Oh, I specifically put this on here and then didn't do it. As far as the contest, we apologize. That didn't fucking sound sincere at all. All right. So it looks like we got everything. Okay. Well then, now you know, and knowing's half the battle. So go fuck yourself. I've been watching a lot of Key and Twombly lately. So actually, that's really probably got nothing to do with it. I always say go fuck yourself. So Emily is my spiritual animal, my spirit animal. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our website, sacramentgame.com. Once you're there, um, head on over to. Yeah, I feel like I missed something completely. Anyways, head on over to the forums at the top here. You'll see the forum. Head on over to the forums, subscribe. You do need a different handle for the forums. We use a third-party service for it. It was a billion times easier. So, uh, if you have any talents, especially if you're good with game development of any type, coding, anything. Actually, we have like three coders right now that are pending work for them. So, ah, see, I wasn't gonna bring that up. All right, Kane Laura asks about any update on Kickstarter. Yes. So, I wanted to go into this. I don't know why I didn't go into this. Like I totally led myself into this and it just didn't follow up. I don't know why. So, with the flyover video having the delay that it's got, we wanted to push for August because not compete. Oh, I did go over this. Not competing with the holidays was important for us, being a bunch of no-namers. I knew I went over this. So the Kickstarter is going to be delayed until after the holidays. It's only intelligent for us. If there are people that want to donate anyways, I beg you to wait until after the Kickstarter goes. But once we have the flyover video, I did make it clear that at that point in time, we will open up donations once we can prove that we're actually working on this. So the donation button will be opened up. If you donate, I'm going to send you an email asking you if you mind if I push those proceeds to the Kickstarter. I would personally prefer, as much as everybody fucking loves money, I would personally prefer that you hold off for the Kickstarter. If you got a savings account going, fucking awesome. I love your face. If not, it's only logical. So, I understand. Um, I don't have a fucking savings account going. It's all going into this game. So, as expected, right? Um, as far as Kickstarter goes, we're looking at late January, early February sometime. So I'm really not that concerned competing with Valentine's Day because one, it's a fucking retarded holiday, and two, people don't spend on Valentine's Day anything like they spend on Christmas. So hell, people actually avoid paying bills in December to spend more on Christmas. So yeah, it's a little scary. I don't want to contribute to that debt crisis. So which is probably why it'll wind up being in February because January is usually like recuperation time. Oh, and taxes. I did not consider that. I really didn't. I swear to God, it was not considered. The I just realized that, and I understand how that looks. Son of a bitch. I'm not going to push it back because that looks a little shady, okay? I really don't give a fuck what people think about me. Honestly, if any of you guys have been around for more than 2 damn weeks, you know that shit. So I am who the fuck I am. I'm not shady, and sometimes I'm accidentally lucky. So likely be February, just because January is like recoup time for a lot of bills. I know when I was poor, I used to skip out on my my internet bill. Not gonna lie, wasn't the smartest thing. I wasn't ever taught financial management. Okay, I've had to teach my damn self. So give me a fucking break. Fucking bags of dicks, judgmental sons of bitches. Anyway, so all right, back to the outro. If you've got a talent for business, game design, anything, as we are growing, we're 32 right now. I have not added anybody this week because we're at the point where we need to start more. I don't even know how to phrase this. We need to start providing absolutes, not absolutes. Absolutes in business are fucking stupid. It's how you get to free to plays. Um, need to start providing clear definitions for managerial tasks and putting people in managerial positions. If we're going to grow past 32, um, right now I'm the only one full time on this, and I can't sit here and do what I am doing and manage, 32, 34, 40, 50, 100 fucking volunteers. So, and I really don't expect people to fill managerial positions the way that we need them to further expand past the point we're at. So, really, right now, what we're doing is taking on, yeah, pretty much, taking on more people. It's going to be very specific fields, things that we absolutely need people at. So that's it's just a sound business decision. It's better to be understaffed than overwhelmed. So, all right. So if you've got any specialty positions, fill out the volunteer form. There are people on the volunteer form. I apologize that I have not responded to you. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I haven't quite figured out how to say we want you, but not right this second without sounding like an absolute fucking dick. I am working on my people skills, okay? Everybody near me knows it's something I need to work on, all right? Patience and people skills. My therapist has helped me through it. Y'all motherfuckers think I'm playing with a therapist. I got PTSD, bitches. I'm not fucking around, okay? So, yeah, I'm working on it, okay? I see you on the forum. I'm not trying to insult you. I just don't know how to say I want you. Don't have the time. So there's that. Don't feel like I've absolutely ignored your shit. Okay, I see you there. There's 3 of you there. One of you is friends with somebody in the business. I got nothing for you to do. If you're watching, I got nothing for you to do. It's why I haven't brought you in yet. So, and we've got enough people in limbo waiting for stuff to do. So I don't want to add to that because keeping track of all the people we have actively working is enough of a task without proper management in place than keeping task of people who are now sitting on the sideline waiting to get tagged in for new tasks. So it's a pain in the ass business, right? Also, like us on Facebook. That is Sacrament, the New Gods. Let me pull that up, actually. Facebook deets. Let's go, Facebook. Here we go. So, Sacrament, New Gods. And follow us on Twitter. Just look up Sacrament Game. I'm not going to link that one. So. Agelos, man, you're a fucking freak, dude. You're an animal. I swear to God. Look at this guy. This guy. I don't fucking love your face, dude. All right. And tune in next week where I've been winging the last 2 or 3 and I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Next week. I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about next week. Not really. God damn, Lay. You know what the fuck I meant. Fucking A. Enjoy the video, you bags of bags.